optimistic.
I think I can, with great degree of confidence, say that the oryx is saved now. It's in the wild, and it's growing in a population, in a growing population. It's increasing population. And I think maybe, I don't know what we say about the future. After all, I think maybe it is fair to say that you don't conserve wildlife just for the sake of conservation. Conservation, after all, should be a sustainable operation, and that which makes conservation meaningful. If we just continue protecting the animal and putting it in protected areas, and even sometimes people are not allowed to look at it. So what kind of conservation is this? What are you doing it? Why you are doing that for?
The golden days of governmental funding are past, and some conservation authorities are looking for new ways to generate revenues to supplement waning budgets. The incredible pink desert drama of Wadi Rum provides a backdrop to the latest Jordanian initiative. In an area utilized for ecotourism, oryx have been designated a small wadi in an experiment to reintroduce the oryx to the area. Whilst oryx are only being reintroduced to areas where they once occurred naturally, they're also expected to earn their living by generating ecotourism dollars. Ecotourism is now considered by many as one of the only viable means through which to maintain some regional conservation efforts. The Arabian oryx may finally be back in the wild, but the question remains, for how long? In the sun-scorched depths of Arabia's desert interior, contrary to what most people expect, some remarkable plant life does manage to maintain a precarious presence, and in some unexpected places. Although it may not rain in parts of the Rub al Khali for 30 years, when it does, water becomes stored between damp sand grains in the heart of the dunes. Once settling below 2 meters into the sand, the moisture is unlikely to be affected by evaporation. Amazingly, some plants are tapping moisture from rain that fell over 1,000 years ago that has remained trapped as moisture within the cool interior of the dune. Some have adapted to extend roots deep underground, even to depths of over 35 meters. Roots can have other uses too. The sedge plant uses its long roots to anchor itself against sandstorms and high winds. Other plant species are so well adapted that they can last for decades without rain. One tree that has adapted extremely well to many of Arabia's different desert habitats is the acacia, an extremely important plant in the peninsula. Robinson has been studying the plant growth and associated problems along the eastern desert escarpment in Saudi Arabia for many years.
The dominant plant in terms of biomass and its use of resources will be members of the genus Acacia. And in the wadis here we have 2 species in almost equal numbers, Acacia tortilis and Acacia ehrenbergiana. They are both very important ecological plants.
This hardy tree sustains a vast selection of desert life, providing food, water, shade, and even acting as home to many species. The relatively thick canopy of the tree offers welcome respite from the desert sun. Insects live on it, which in turn attracts birds, especially when the tree is in flower.
The acacias are very, very well adapted to all sorts of browsing. They can survive being browsed every year, kept down to the ground, down into little topiary balls by camels, and remain alive for decades. They also are adapted to browsing by animals which nibble and stand up. These trunks have had the bark browsed off. This has been done probably by IDMI because there are no teeth marks on the wood. A small amount of bark browsing is fine. It will form new repair tissue. But when the entire branch has been ring-barked by a hungry IDMI, that dies. And of course this is one of our concerns.
In a land of scarce vegetation, the acacia tree is a rare survivor.
You can see Acacia tortilis is quite a well-armed plant. It's got a pair of straight spines and a pair of hooked spines, and so it's well able to take care of itself. This prevents browsing of the plant down to the rootstock.
Of the birds associated with the acacia, the masked shrike has a rather macabre use for the tree's long, sharp spines. Despite its diminutive size, this small bird is in fact a fierce predator of other birds. The shrike uses a spike on the acacia branch to impale its prey for safekeeping, so that it can return to finish it off throughout the next few days.
The seed is the start of the acacia's life, and being eaten could be detrimental. Tortilis in particular, though, is one of these acacias which has a high dormancy of the seeds. They're very hard and they don't germinate immediately. Passing through the gut of an animal often softens the seed coat enough that it speeds up germination. So then we have groups of seeds like this one which will take years. They'll sit in the ground for years without germinating. And others which have been eaten by an animal, not munched up completely, but the seed coat's been cracked, and they'll germinate quite quickly, which gives the tree a strategy for going through maybe 10 years without any rain, or germinating tomorrow if we suddenly have an exceptional midsummer rain.
Whilst many animals of the desert depend on shade for survival, the lappet-faced vulture seems to be impervious to the heat of the sun, building nests on the tops of the trees, where it leaves its single chick directly under the sun's full glare. It is believed that by keeping its head lower than its body, increased blood flow to the featherless head helps to cool the brain.
In this area, the number of vultures is increased from 1992 up to now.
One man who has been pioneering studies and conservation efforts for this amazing bird is Mohammed Shobrak, bird ecologist at the Mahazat Asaid Enclosed Nature Reserve, run by the National Commission for Wildlife Conservation and Development in Saudi Arabia.
The lappet-faced vulture is a remarkable species. If you see another species of desert, you will see them sitting under the shade or go in the burrows. But this one, the chicks, they stay in the summer up to 65 degrees centigrade, which is really remarkable. And they must have some kind of physiological adaptation to adapt to this temperature. So the unpaired area in the head and also under the wing and the legs, they play a role for thermal regulate to exchange the heat, to rid of the heat in the body. Other interesting things in this vulture, that is the only vulture in Saudi Arabia, is nest in trees. Others all nest in cliffs. Back to the nest.
An impressive bird, it can grow to a wingspan of 9 feet, which helps when encountering competition for carrion from other birds. Vultures can spot carrion up to 1.5 kilometers away, and also locate carcasses by watching the behavioral patterns of other birds also searching for food.
Another interesting thing that they make like the Bedouins, that really in the desert, they, when there is a shortage of food, the group start attack another group and take the females and they kick out the males from the group. Ghazoo, invasion. They invade another.